Welcome, everybody. I'm Jennifer Cook DeRosa, and in this presentation, we're going to talk about some ways for you to use study.com in your summer school, in your homeschool. Now, this is geared towards the homeschool audience, but certainly everything we're going to talk about today will work for an adult learner who wants to get a little bit of extra credit over the summer. And I'm going to show you a strategy that I think is really important in order to get the most for your subscription. So study.com is a subscription-based type of college credit. So this is a little bit different than purchasing a class through a college, taking that class and having that last over several months. So when you use a subscription plan, there's a little bit of a sense of urgency because each month that you're paying, you're going to be billed, right? So when you use a subscription product like study.com, the thing that I've always felt is that there's this sense of urgency to complete the classes really quickly. Well, when you have that strategy, that can compete with a regular homeschool strategy, which is to take your time and to learn things carefully and slowly and deeply, right? So it kind of can create, I guess, a little bit of a conflict in your homeschool as far as like how you're going to bring these classes in a way that makes sense and also still learn a lot. So we have used study.com in our homeschool, and I've used it myself. There are some strategies that you can use that I think brings the best of both worlds. And one of the things that I have found is that the classes work really well over the summer because they're kind of outside of our normal homeschool program. So that's one thing that we've done. And then there's another strategy called Learning Stack, which is what we're going to talk about today. So when you go to study.com's website, you're going to notice that they have a lot of different cards here that you can sign up for or that you can click on. But it's really important to know that study.com offers more classes than what's worth college credit. So if you're wanting to use study.com for college credit, which is what we're talking about today, the only one that you should be looking at here is the Earn College Credit box. And this is going to filter out the classes that are not worth college credit. And it's actually kind of easy to get them mixed up. And so I really want to emphasize how important that is to choose those courses that are worth college credit because it won't be obvious when you're looking at their course catalog. Excuse me. So they actually have about 4,000 courses available. So it's easy to mistake the non-credit courses for the credit courses, and we don't want you to go down the wrong path there. Now, if you've never been to study.com, it's going to prompt you to create an account. Just know that the College Saver plan, which is going to be the most expensive one, is the one that you'll do for college credit. Now, they have about 220 courses that are worth college credit, and these are the ones we're going to focus on today. Now, the current price, I'm recording this in May of 2024, the current price for the College Saver plan is $235 a month. So pause for 1 second and think about this. If you're trying to use study.com year-round in your homeschool, that can be a very expensive way to take a class. So we're going to talk about how to accelerate so that you're not using study.com for your whole school year. You're only really using it in the summer. And we always have had a really great relationship with study.com. They give us lots of coupons and discounts and things, and those do change over time. I am recording this presentation to keep on our YouTube channel. So rather than give you an incorrect code, I want you to know that we always have a code on our website. And so currently the code that is on our website is 20% off 2 months. So the demonstration I'm going to do today is going to use that math. But sometimes we've had 30% off 3 months, and sometimes we've had other discounts. So the place that you can go is homeschoolingforcollegecredit.org. I'm going to make sure you can see this on my screen. Homeschoolingforcollegecredit.org, or you can use the abbreviation hs4cc.org. And you'll go right into our website, Help Me Grow. And under the 30 ways to earn college credit, study.com has its own page. And that page will always have the current coupon or the current discount code that we have. And like I said, we've been able to have some type of a code or a discount pretty consistently for several years. So before you subscribe to study.com, check in and see if we have a current code, because that will save you a considerable amount of money. Now, one thing that's really important to know about study.com, they are an alternative type of credit provider. They are not a college, they're a business. And you may already know this, but in order to get this type of college credit to count, you really want to focus on using a partner college. Now, a partner college is going to be a college that study.com on their own has formed a business relationship with. That college has agreed that they would award college credit for the courses. Now, study.com has about 40 partner colleges, and that list can change. It can grow or it can shrink. So if you are really wanting to make sure that you're choosing a school where this credit is going to count, you want to focus on a partner college. Now, one of the advantages that you'll find on that list of partner colleges is those partner colleges are also the types of colleges that allow you to transfer in a ton of college credit. So in some cases, you can transfer in as much as 75% of a degree, a bachelor's degree, or even sometimes an associate's degree using alternative college credit sources like this. So that gives you the potential to not only complete the degree quickly, but at a super low cost. I think just based on some of the non-traditional college credits that we're seeing right now in 2024, and when you pair that with dual enrollment, if you're a homeschooled student, you can for sure complete about 3 years of college for under $3,000. So it's very low cost when you use these alternative types of credits. So for people who aren't particular about where their degree comes from, if they're looking for a general education type of bachelor's degree or liberal arts or business, something that's just very general, then I think it's worth considering looking at some of the partner colleges, because this is going to allow you to pick a school that's going to use this type of credit in the best way. So other ways that you can bring in college credit, of course, would be credit by exam and some of the other types of ACE providers like Sophia, Study.com, Straighterline, Alex, and so forth. And we have, again, if you're going into homeschooling for college credit, we have that list of 30 ways that you can earn college credit, and you'll see all of those different ones there. Today's presentation, I'm just going to focus on how to use study.com, but you can pair those credits with a lot of other ones. When you go on study.com's website, they're going to have a list to view their partner schools. They also have a button here, Find Your School. I don't want you to use the Find Your School button, because even though they do claim that you can transfer credit to over 1,500 colleges, that is not a promise. And if you're pretty sure that you're going to use a lot of the college credit to get a degree, you really want that promise. You don't want so much insecurity. So you're going to choose the partner colleges and view the partner schools, and that's going to be much more helpful. And I'm actually going to show you that in just a few minutes, how to do that. Okay, so we're going to use an accelerated strategy today. And I like to pretend that this is a summer strategy. Now, I know lots of adult learners use this strategy all the time, and that's perfectly fine because an adult learner already has their high school diploma, right? So it's the homeschool students that are earning their high school diploma and needing those high school credits, where the accelerated strategies don't always work really well during the school year, but they really do work well in the summer. So a highly motivated student, and I want you to know your student has to be highly motivated because this is something that they need to work on every day. Using carefully selected courses, those are courses that you have picked for them, okay? And you've planned them to transfer into that partner college, which is to say you have done your homework looking to see that these are going to count, can accumulate up to about 15 college credits in 1 month. And because the coupon works for 2 months, we're actually going to do a 2-month example in the presentation today. But if you are an adult learner, just be aware that you can do this for many months, and you can continue forward. If you're a homeschool student, this works really well in the summer, because then in the fall, you can go back to your normal high school curriculum or your other homeschooling for college credit programs. So this is a great summer strategy. Okay, I realize there's a lot of math on this screen, but let me show you how study.com works as far as billing, so that you have a really good understanding of what you're going to pay for, what's included, and what is not included, because setting the budget is super important. I will tell you, the first time that we used a subscription college credit program with my oldest son, we did it completely wrong. We did did it for a whole year. I ended up with him completing very few credits, and we paid a ton of money. So I'm really empathetic to, to knowing that this can get expensive. And so I wanted to start right away at the beginning with how to calculate these costs. Okay. Now, if you look at the top, this is the current discounted price with the coupon code, which you'll remember was 20% off of 2 months. Okay, that brings the cost down to $188 a month, and you're going to budget for 2 months, and that's going to be $376. So in order to do the summer program, it's going to cost you $376. So this is money that you would pay directly to study.com, and there's no other costs involved. So there's no textbooks, there's no registration fees, there's nothing like that. And your college credit will get recorded into a Credly account. There's no cost for recording that. And there won't be any cost when you request your transcript and have it sent to your college. So that really is your all-in price. Now, the way that they work it is that when you activate your subscription on that day is when it starts. So don't activate your subscription until your student is ready to start on day one. So you want to make sure that you're organized and that you've got all your planning already laid out before you click pay. Because when you start paying, I want you to hit the ground running because you have a lot of work to do inside of those 2 months. Okay, so when you do that, you'll get your first bill, which will be $188. And then at the end of that month, you'll get the next bill, which will be $188. So it'll come to you in 2 different billing. Now, it's worth pointing out that if you don't cancel your subscription, it's going to continue to bill. So you have to cancel your subscription at the end. Otherwise, you will continue to get billed. And then the new bills will be at the full price, not at the discount. Okay, so inside of a month of billing at study.com, you get 2 classes. Now, this can be a little bit confusing because you can actually be enrolled in all the classes, but you can only take the final exam for 2 different classes. Okay, so if you are taking a class with study.com and your student is just doing the class, right? They're doing the quizzes and watching the videos and so forth. There is no deadline. This is self-paced. Okay, so you can literally be enrolled and taking as long as you need. Your student could take 10 months to complete that class. And that is not what they are going to restrict you on. What they restrict you on is how many final exams you can take. And the final exam is how you get your college credit. So your student will do the class, but then they must take and pass that final exam. And that final exam, when their total class grade comes in, they have to have 70% in the class. And if they do, then they pass. So you can take 2 final exams in 1 month in your subscription. So you have to be strategic here because those final exams, you want to make sure that you're taking at least 2. So if you look at the orange boxes here, in month 1, you're going to want to take 2 final exams. And in month 2, you're going to want to take 2 final exams. So those courses can be completed fast or slow, but in order to get the most out of your subscription, you really want to make sure that you take those 2 exams. Now, in the summer, if this is the only thing your student is doing, you're not going to have a lot of trouble with that. You can for sure complete a study.com class in 2 weeks. So a student could work quickly, but not, super, super fast and do this without any issues. This gives you about 2 weeks to complete class 1, about 2 weeks to complete class 2, and then you would do that again. So this pace right here of these 4 classes is totally doable. And again, your student isn't doing a whole big course load of their whole homeschool schedule. They're just doing these 2 classes. So if they're spending their whole school day working on class 1, you can for sure get that done in 2 weeks. Okay. What is a little extra and where the accelerated strategy comes in is beyond the 2 classes. Okay. Now this is a totally different thing. Study.com allows your student to take up to 3 more final exams in a month. They won't let you go more than 3. And these are optional. You do not have to do any of these, but you can pay for an additional final exam for $70. Okay. So if your student has completed 3 classes and is ready for 3 final exams, the first 2 are going to be included in their subscription. The third one is the one you're going to have to pay for, and that's going to be $70, and they'll bill that to you directly. they will allow you to do up to 5. So the fastest that your student could complete these credits, or the quickest that they could move through, is 5 per month. Now, I know you're saying 5 is crazy, right? 5 is 15 college credits, but you can do that if that's the only thing that you're doing. And when you use the learning stack strategy, which I'm going to show you in a second, it's actually not that unusual to be able to complete 5 of these classes in a month, because you're going to be using a strategy that makes sense. And I'm going to show you that again. But I'm going to also talk here just for one more second about the math of it. So if your student just does these 4 over 2 months, your cost for those 12 credits comes down to $31.33 a credit, and that's using the discounted price. So $31.33 a credit is exceptionally low, okay? Very low. It brings the cost way down. So if you can do these extra ones here, right, that brings it down even more. So when you're paying for that $70 extra, if you actually end up getting all 10 of those classes done, now your cost per credit is $26.53. So this is why people use these subscription programs, because if you're talking about a dual enrollment class, your tuition could be, let's say, $100 a credit, maybe $150 or $200 a credit. If you're a regular adult going to college, your price per credit is probably $350 per credit, maybe $500 per credit. If you're at a private school, it might be $1,000 or even $2,000 or $3,000 per credit. So when you talk about being able to get college credit for under $30 a credit, now we're talking about being able to accelerate through a good portion of that degree for cheap, 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 that you're cash flowing and accumulating that credit, so that when it comes time to enroll as a regular college student, the part where you have to pay full price is less, okay, because you're bringing in those credits. Now, I also want to show you that even if you don't have a discount code, because sometimes those codes aren't guaranteed, right? But even if you don't have a discount code, that's okay, because you're still going to be able to use the strategy that we're going to talk about today. We're still going to be able to do the accelerated, and you still can get that under $40 a credit, even if they're not running a coupon or a promotion. So don't worry too much about the discount. If you are eligible for it, I want you to get it. If you can't use it, you can still do these strategies. And I will say that you can still do these strategies for other months beyond these first 2. All right, we're just focusing on these 2 months because this is a class on how to use study.com over the summer, but you can certainly do it longer if you want to. Okay, so I want to show you quickly on a field trip here. We're going to go to study.com's website, and I'm going to show you what let's see if I can do it. Okay, I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm at the study.com website right now, and I'm looking at the partner colleges, and the colleges tab is where I'm finding that. And these are the partner colleges. Now, you remember, they do say that they accept credits for a lot of different colleges, or rather that you can transfer credits to a lot of different colleges. That's true. But I want you to focus on just the partner colleges. Okay, the partner colleges are where you're going to be able to find equivalencies. And equivalency tables are the most important thing. So in this example, I'm using Liberty University. And Liberty University is one of their partner colleges. Now, Liberty University allows you to transfer in 75% of your degree, and that is true whether or not you're online or residential. But their partnership is with the online. So you're going to look here for the eligible courses, and they're going to have right here for you all the study.com courses and how that comes over as a Liberty University course. So this is the tool that allows you to pick and choose. Okay, so this is very, very, very helpful. All right, so for instance, if your student took Health 101, Principles of Health, you can see right here that it comes over to the Liberty University as Health 216 Personal Health. So very often you're going to see a different name, which is fine. What's important here is it's showing you exactly how it comes in. Now, these lists here can change from time to time, but you should know that as a partner college, they will likely accept any of the courses that study.com offers, because study.com will offer new courses and they will retire some. And so here's a perfect example of that: Philosophy 301, Principles of Philosophy, Unknown Equivalency, Ask the Advisor. So this is an example of where this course probably was was launched after this chart was already developed, and so therefore it's unknown. It is likely to come in, but how it comes in is going to be up to Liberty. So that is the way that you're going to use these equivalency lists, and you can find these lists on study.com's website for all of their different colleges. Okay, so let me get us back to our screen here. Okay, so you want to know, okay, so how can you complete 2 college courses, let alone 5 college courses in 1 month? How can you do that? Well, there's a strategy that we used in our home school that I talk about a lot, and I have used it myself as a student. So I want to explain how this works, why it works, and how you can do it to really accelerate some of your learning. Okay, and I call it a learning stack. I'm sure there's other names for this idea because this is not a new idea, but let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that you wanted to learn Spanish 101. You wanted to take this class, Spanish 101. And then you decided to take French 101. Then you decided to take German 101. Then you decided to take Italian 101. And finally, you took Latin 101. The amount of learning in each of those classes is not really going to overlap. You really are starting from scratch each time. Now, if you think about a high school program, you think about a student who's taking English, math, history, science, maybe a foreign language, music, some kind of elective. You, in fact, often have these different subjects where there's no connection. And when a student is doing that, it can be like the learning happens in a little bubble. It can be very time consuming and very slow to learn each of these subjects carefully and thoroughly. So during the school year, of course, your student is going to be studying different subjects, and they may be studying, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 subjects at a time. And each of those subjects has their own book, their own curriculum, their own objectives, and so on. And so that's one of the reasons why it takes a full semester or even a full school year to learn that subject. So that makes sense, right? So that's why when you look at these different subjects, you say, well, there's no way I could complete all 5 of those in 1 month, right? Let alone 1 semester. That would be crazy. So the strategy for doing this accelerated learning is that instead of having all of the different subjects, what you're going to do is you're going to build on the subjects. All right. And you're going to use the same subject in a new class each time. So if instead of the first example where we were learning all these different languages, if instead of that, if you just used one language, for instance, if you took Spanish 101, 102, 103, 104, it makes sense. We understand that our building of the learning is cumulative, right? So you start in Spanish 101 and you learn a little more in Spanish 102. You're not starting from scratch. And then when you get to 103, you're not starting from scratch again. You've got now this preceding learning, and it builds and it builds and it builds. And it actually becomes easier as you move forward. Well, when you understand that our learning works that way, and then you understand how the study.com program works, I'm going to show you how you can really make this work. Okay, so let's say hypothetically that you're going to study Spanish. Okay, now if each individual class has different skills that you need to master, when you go into Spanish 101 and you complete these skills, something to note about study.com is that you're going to automatically have those skills checked off on any class where it appears. So this is going to be true of the entire catalog of study.com classes. All right. They have it built in there that when you complete a lesson, if that lesson appears anywhere else in their catalog, it's going to be checked off. So while you're working on your first class and you're learning these skills, right? Even though you're not enrolled in these other classes, even though you're not taking them, even though you're not thinking about them, even though you're not paying any attention to them, if there are skills from this first class that appear in these other classes, guess what? They're being checked off automatically. So when the student completes the Spanish 101 class in this example, you may already have some of Spanish 102 finished and some of even Spanish 103 finished. So this is huge because imagine now in the example where you were going to complete Spanish 101, and then you were going to go do French, and then you were going to go do German, and so on. Well, those classes are not going to have any overlap, right? Whereas if you stayed in the same subject, you are going to have this natural overlap. So then when you move into Spanish 102 and you start completing these classes, you might be starting with the class already partially finished. You might have as much as 20% of the class already done before you even start on the very first lesson. And as you complete those lessons, guess what? The same principle applies. Now, this is going to be applied to Spanish 103. So as you go through every study.com class that shares the same subject is going to have a shared bit of lessons in some amount. So as you can see here, a student who does this progression is actually not having to complete 16 units, 16 units, 16 units, and 16 units, right? Because when they did the first one, that gave them some in the higher classes. When they did the second one, it gave them some in the higher classes. When they did the third one, so by the time you get over here to the fourth one, you may already be 50% of the class done. So this is how a learning stack strategy works. And so this is how you're going to use the summer to get the most out of your subscription. All right, so this is an example of a list of the courses the study.com offers in history. Okay, and I've pulled them from their catalog. And if you look here, I'm going to show you how to look at this list. These are all of the different courses that they offer in history. All right, and you'll see that they have the numbers here. So this is 100, 101, 102, and so forth. And then you get down here and you see that these have 300s. Now, here's a little pro tip with study.com. Anytime they have a course that has a 3 or a 4 as the starting number, 300 or 400, those courses have homework. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a class that has homework, except a homework assignment in study.com has to be graded by a human. Because it's graded by a human, that slows you way down. In fact, if it takes a week or 2 weeks for that assignment to get graded, that can completely throw off your whole plan of accelerating through these 2 months. So I'll show you an example of when it might be okay to do one of these upper level classes. But for the most part, we are going to build learning stacks only using classes that are the 100 level, because these do not have homework. So these are going to be full of short lessons, and the lesson might only take, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes. It's going to have a short video, and then there's going to be a short quiz. And you can retake that quiz as many times as you need, and then you move on to the next one. So imagine a class having anywhere from 150 to 200 of these short little tiny lessons. And again, every time you complete one, if that lesson is shared in another history class, it's going to automatically be checked off for you. So as you're completing these courses, be mindful that these other courses are also being completed. So if you were looking at the history list, this right here this set of courses here, these 4 and then 4 classes, these are good ones to use for a learning stack because these are going to share a lot of the content. Now, in the behavioral sciences, here is another example. We have psychology and sociology here listed in their behavioral sciences, and I can look at all the numbers, and I do see here a sociology 305. I probably wouldn't put that in the learning stack just because it's going to have homework, but I have all of these other 100s here for psychology, and then there's some upper level psychology down here. All right, now here's one with education. So if you have a student that's maybe interested in early childhood education, for instance, or special education, or maybe wants to become a teacher, these might be super interesting for that student. And so again here, these make a perfect learning stack because there's 100 and 200 level, not the 300 and 400. And usually an early childhood education degree is a 2-year degree anyway. So that's why they don't have the upper levels in here. Okay. So I want to show you on the Homeschooling for College Credit website, which I'm going to bring over here for you. Okay, on the Homeschooling for College Credit website, you're going to go under Help Me Grow 30 Ways to Earn College Credit. You're going to come down until you get to study.com, which is number 18. And you're going to see that I already have for you on here all of the subjects listed. So if you want to know how to make your learning stack, you can just come right here to the list. And these are already going to be sorted. Now, one thing that I do for you on here that you don't see on the study.com catalog is I sort them into either general education or not general education. And I feel like that's important because when you are using courses for general education, those have a little bit better transferability than the ones that are not. So I went ahead and I've sorted them for you so that you can see which courses fall into general education versus which ones that don't. But all of these are already broken down. Here we get into the non-gen ed courses. And you can look at these lists and you can build your own learning stacks based on your students' interests, right? And also potentially what degree they might be considering if they are already thinking about what major they want to have. Now you'll notice some of these subjects have a lot of upper level, like here marketing. All of these right here are the upper level. So there's only 2 lower levels. So this is not going to give you a great learning stack, but that's an example of how that might apply. All right, so let me come back over here. Okay. All right. So as you're building your learning stack, we talk about what not to do. Okay, what not to do. And this is the mistake that I made when we were using study.com. And so this is something to look out for. Now, what not to do is to just plan your 4 classes, right? And when you're looking at your classes, I want you to think about the subject. Okay, sometimes a subject is something that takes a long time to learn. For instance, programming in Java. Okay, this might be something that your student can learn very quickly, but if I'm taking a programming in Java class and I have no computer language skills whatsoever, I'm probably not going to be able to complete an entire course in Java in just 1 week or even 2 weeks or even 1 month, right? It's going to take me a lot longer. In the English 310, you see this has a 3 right here. So this is going to have homework. So if my first month has a class that's going to take me a long time to learn and it's going to have homework, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to probably complete these 2 classes in 1 month. It's probably going to take me several months to get through these classes. So this is not a good fit. When I look over here on month 2, I have the same problem. English composition, which is full of written work and assignments, is not going to be a good choice. Same with beginning Spanish. So even though these are the 100 level, these are the kinds of subjects that are going to take a long time to complete. And so this is what not to do. Now, what works? Well, let's look at some examples here of what works, because this is going to help you with your learning stack. So in this particular 2-month group, I've picked only courses that are in the history area. Now, we do have a geography course down here because there's a little bit of overlap there. But in this case, U.S. History 1, U.S. History 2, and then look here, Civil War and Reconstruction. Well, I know that Civil War happened in between U.S. History 1 and U.S. History 2. So I'm certain that there's going to be some shared content here and there's going to be some overlap. So this is a very good example here of how to use the same subject to get that overlap and to get those shared lessons. Now, I do have, because I wanted to show you here an example of one of the courses that has the homework, which is the History 306. That's an upper level course. It does have homework, but if I'm strategic, I can put that in the beginning of the month, right? After I've already completed the lower level course here. Look at Civil War and Reconstruction. So I already know that I've got History 106 and History 306. I already know these are going to have a tremendous amount of overlap. So when I add this in, I'm going to start it right at the beginning of the month because I've already completed the other lower level lessons. And I'm going to work very quickly to get the homework assignments right at the beginning. And while the homework assignment is being graded, I can then go ahead and I can keep moving forward through the other history classes. And so then when this assignment comes back, I can submit the next one. And again, I can keep working. So what you're doing is you're just being really intentional and making sure that you've always got something in the works so that you're always making progress on the other classes. Here is another example. This is an example that uses more than one subject, but it builds a story of the same content kind of carrying forward. So for instance, here in psychology, we start with Intro to Psychology. That's going to have a lot of the lessons completed in the other psychology courses. And going into Human Growth and Development, which is the lifespan, right, makes sense then to progress into adulthood and aging. All right, now, if you'll see what we've done here, we kind of created a bridge, Sociology 101, which is Intro to Sociology. And then look at this sociology class, Foundations of Gerontology, which are the elderly. So you'll notice that I've got this same subject here as I have right here. And we've got the bridge here in the middle. So this is creating kind of a story of progression through this subject. And we're starting with understanding psychology, and we're going into the different life stages, and we're going into each one very, very deeply. And so then after we're going through the psychology and the sociology, now we're kind of switching over into the educational realm, which bridges us into the foundations of education, early childhood education, special education. So this is another example of how to bring those classes in a way that really makes sense and uses a lot of the overlap. So I'm sure that you're wondering, well, how do you know which classes are going to have the overlap? And one of the things that you can do, I can't show it to you on my screen because I can't go into the study.com account. But if you go into your study.com account, you can add all of these classes to your dashboard. Study.com doesn't care how many classes are in your dashboard. You could literally add all 220 if you wanted to. And at any point in time when you're completing a course, there will be a bar that will show you how much of other courses are complete. So if, for instance, you looked at this set of classes and you really were interested in this, perhaps you go into your dashboard and you add the psychology courses. Maybe you add all the psychology courses, you add the sociology courses, you add the education courses. And again, you can add all of these. These can all be in your cart. You don't have to complete them. If they're in your dashboard, then they're going to automatically show you that progress bar. So as you go through Intro to Psychology, you will see the little bits of those lessons scattered throughout these other courses. And so then as you move forward with the Psych 103, again, you're going to see those progress bars advance. Your dashboard and what that looks like is going to be unique to you. Because for instance, if you look at someone else's dashboard, they've completed different courses. And so what they have is going to look different than yours. So there's really no surefire way for me to say, these are the perfect ones for you to complete. A lot of it's going to depend on which courses you start with and the order that you do the courses. If you started with Education 105 and you started working backwards, your screen is going to look different than mine. But you can have all of these in your cart working at a pace that makes sense for you. So that's how you're going to build your study.com summer school program so that you can earn up to 30 college credits in 2 months. So I will send you the discount to your email if you registered for this as a webinar. Then you're going to automatically get this recording. You're going to get that discount code directly to you because it's in real time. But for those of you that are watching this on YouTube or after the fact, you can always check to see if we have study.com discounts. And you can do that by going to Homeschooling for College Credit. And in the Help Me Grow 30 Ways to Earn College Credit, study.com, that sequence will take you to the study.com website and their classes and the discounts. So I hope that you found that helpful. I hope that your student can earn lots of college credit this summer. That's all. Bye, everyone.